gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's your boy, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from the top of my house, 2 flights up from the kitchen, where I get my coffee sometimes. Other times, I get it at Dunkin'. Tommy D runs on Dunkin'. This is Philanthropy in Focus. And what do I focus on this show? I focus on bringing you all nonprofit leaders and their organizations, nonprofits, as I tell you every week, change our world, make incredible impacts, and serve those who need services. If it wasn't for the nonprofits, the leaders and their teams that I specialize in hanging out with, I specialize in hanging out with people. I like that, Tommy D. If it wasn't for these leaders, I was on a phone call with a gentleman who runs development for an organization out here in Long Island just earlier this morning. I had a roundtable with my friend Lauren Marzo over at the Viscardi Center. Yesterday, we had about 25 other nonprofit folks on that call, learning from Lauren. I'm all about this sector. So what do I specialize in? I do 2 things on this show. I help the leaders who come on my show tell their story, and then I help them amplify their message. I sound like that guy, that used to sell the electronics, Crazy Eddie. Insane. My prices. He used to say, here's the story, what we're going to talk about. I want you to understand that there are organizations, as I say, that change our world, that make incredible impact. And every time I have a leader on this show, I know that they're going to say, hey, it's not about me, it's about my team. And that's exactly right. But it takes a strong leader at the beginning of at the top of the organization to really set that North Star and then work towards those goals together as a unit. Juliet Douglas, my friend over at Venture House. She is the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of Venture House. I will tell everybody how we met and the whole thing, but good morning. How are you? What's going on?
Good morning. I'm well. I'm happy to be here.
We're going to have fun. I promise we're going to have a good time. I shall do my best. I've done this 102 times so far. So I think I figured out some stuff. So before we get started, there's something I want to read, and just to kind of set the stage a little bit. I take very seriously the conversation around mental health, and I know pretty much it comes up in every conversation I'm having with nonprofits these days, because it is certainly so important. I believe that unfortunately, the way we've treated this mental health conversation, wrapping so much stigma into the conversation, is not appropriate, and we need to continue to break down those boundaries. Second ever episode, you might not know this, Juliet, but the second ever episode of Philanthropy in Focus, Dr. Larry Grubler came on the show from Transitional Services for New York, TSINY. They serve 4,000 individuals with different mental health issues in the city of New York, and each year. And Larry said, Tommy, at different times, we all need support. And I think that's the compassion, the conversation we need to have, is we all need support at different times. I go through this in my own family unit about different challenges that people are going through. But there's a spectrum of different needs for people, for sure. And we need to open up this conversation. We need to have this dialogue more often. So what we're going to talk about, so Venture House is a clubhouse setting, and there are over 320 local clubhouses internationally, and this model offers friendship, employment, housing at times, education, access to medical and psychiatric services in an environment of what I would consider community and collaboration, having been both now certainly on the campus of or the clubhouse in Queens, New York, but also in the last couple of weeks, I made it out to Staten Island a couple of weeks back, and I met with Juliet and Liz and Fikeni and some of the folks over there. And I just wanted to kind of set the stage, and then I really want to get into, Juliet, your background, the organization, as we talk about it, and the impact. Always on the show, we draw things to how can we connect and how can we bring resources to the organization, but it's important that we set that stage in doing so up front. So one last thing I want to say, and then we get into this. My buddy Brendan Levy over at the Queens Chamber of Commerce, who runs business development, was originally the conduit, the liaison, the connector, if you will. Yes, I will, Tommy. Okay, good, Tommy. If you will, Brendan Levy, my uncle Brendan over at the Chamber, made this connection years ago to Juliet and her team at Venture House. And we know each other also because through that relationship from Brendan, Venture House became a client of our firm, Vanguard Benefits, probably about 5 or 6 years ago now. So we'll leave that on the side, but that is what I do professionally. We own a benefits agency focused on serving businesses and specifically the nonprofit sector. Okay, commercial gone. Let's do it. Juliet, welcome to the show. Welcome to my virtual attic. You're not in the attic. You're in your office. I'm in my attic. Some people who might only be listening don't realize that we're not in the same place. But I just want to get the kind of get the story. I know you got your MSW, your master's in social work from Columbia University. We were just talking a little bit before in the virtual green room about the kind of the arc a little bit about what drew you, not maybe necessarily to the mental health space or nonprofit, but just this social work aspect. Tell me a little bit about that. What was interesting for you there?
So thank you for introducing me, and it's great to be here. When I think back on why did I choose social work or this profession, it really just boils down to my thinking that people are the most interesting thing in the world. I think that when I come to the end of my life and I ask myself what really mattered, I don't think I'm going to be thinking about that, very comfortable couch I bought or that, treasured piece of jewelry. I'm going to be thinking about, the meaningful relationships that I've had in my life. And so it's really about relationships. People matter. And, that's what drew me to the field to begin with.
Yeah, I certainly, in my experience, the most fascinating species I've ever encountered is our species. I mean, we are an interesting lot.
Although we're quite flawed as a species.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that. Well, what do you mean by that? Flawed.
We're at war.
Oh, well.
As long as human species has existed, we've been killing each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of feelings on that whole thing, but we'll fill 3 hours of a show with that whole concept about how things are set at odds. I think there's almost by design by some folks, you kind of need it that way. But that's a whole nother story. So I want to understand, having been in Queens or at the Queens location, which I tell you the truth, we were talking about this a few weeks ago. I haven't been out to the Queens location since, as they say, pre-COVID. We used to come out each year, during open enrollment time on the benefit side of things, but it's been some years. You've done some renovations out of the building, but tell me about that space. I mean, it's a really cool building. It's like a landmark building. I want to talk to you about the art. We're going to get into that because that's going to lead into a whole nother conversation, which I know we have to talk about. If you're not watching, if you're only listening right now, Juliet has some incredible artwork on the walls behind her, but we'll get into that in a second. Tell me about the building and some of the amenities and really the facilities and resources and things like that members get to experience when they come to Venture House.
So Venture House is a clubhouse, which is a particular model. And as you pointed out, there are over 300 around the world. There are over 200 in the United States, and the model did begin in New York City. Mm-hmm. So the clubhouse is it's a facility where people work together side by side to run day-to-day operations. So in order to become a member of the club, a person has to be 18 years or older and have a diagnosis of a serious mental health condition. So schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, major depression. And when a person becomes a member, they do work side by side with staff to manage the facility, to engage in program planning and development, to participate in designing our social programming and conducting various events and advocacy. So the clubhouse is structured into work units. There's units devoted to education and employment. So when people are interested in pursuing further education or finding a job or returning to school, maybe after having dropped out at one point due to mental health challenges. There are people who are trying to get a GED or apply to college. And so they go into that unit. And again, it's staff and members working side by side to run those day-to-day operations. So we have members who may have a PhD and they are tutoring other members who are working on their GED. So, and then there's a unit devoted to kitchen, dining room, where we operate sort of like a restaurant.
Yep.
Plan the menu, we're cooking side by side. People are learning how to, maintain inventory. do the cooking, serving, busing tables, cleaning up. And so there's a lot of work associated with that unit. And we have a unit that is involved with the clerical aspect of the operation, which is, logging in attendance, tracking data, scheduling tours, doing the admissions process for incoming members. That unit publishes a newsletter. We're going to be, working on other, in our future, which we can talk more about later.
Mm-hmm.
So and then we had a whole social programming. So the clubhouses, the model is structured around what we call the work order day.
Work order day. Okay.
Concept is we're running a business here, we're coming together and we're focused on work. And it's really work because, the principle is that, the concept is rooted in this notion that work is restorative. That when people are engaged in purposeful activity, that is a meaningful experience. And people are, we communicate to our membership that they are needed, wanted, and expected.
So let me stop you for a second, because we had, when I was in Staten Island, with you and Liz, we sat and, had some coffee and stuff like that. And you just said needed, and expected. And what was the last one? Wanted. So needed, expected, and wanted. And whether somebody has a serious mental health challenge issue or not, we all want to be needed, wanted, right? That's what we want. We want connection. When you think in terms of, I've shared on this show plenty of times, I'll just share it again right now. I gave up drinking alcohol 12 years ago. And not that, this was necessarily something that I was aware of at the time, but I learned about the addiction piece in life is, as I see more and more and read more and more, connection reduces, that need for the drug, the substance. And a lot of, I think what, at least in my experience with people, is trying to fill that hole of loneliness and lack of connection, from a substance abuse perspective. And I think when you talk about being wanted, and needed and expected, there comes also, aside from connection, there comes this level of responsibility. I'm part of a team, right? You had mentioned there was, I don't need to call out anybody by name or anything, but you mentioned it was a member that, very specifically, he has a routine of how he comes and takes care of the trash, and that's his thing, and that's his routine. And, it's something that, he's committed to, and it's part of what, I'm sure there's plenty of different responsibilities that people have that they go, this is my thing. I'm part of a community here, and I made kind of a video leading up to the show, and I was kind of being a little bit silly because I showed up, I had come from a different meeting, and I had a shirt and tie and a suit on, and I stuck out, as they say, like a sore thumb, at Venture House out in Staten Island. And people go, who's the guy in the suit? Who's the guy in the suit? I tell that story only to say I'll never do that again. I'll always have a hoodie and jeans on when I come out now. But I say that because everybody's working in community at Venture House. This is something you've shared with me over the years. Somebody who might come in for a visit doesn't know who's staff and doesn't know who's a member, because everybody's just working in tandem to get certain things done and be responsible. So I know from a vocational perspective, and maybe we could dive into that when we come back from a break, but all of us get a connection, a feeling of success when we have a vocation, when we have a profession, when we have a job, and because it gives us somewhere to go and something to do. So can you say anything about that before we go to a quick break?
Yes, absolutely. In order for a clubhouse to be accredited, and we are accredited by Clubhouse International, we have to adhere to 37 standards, and it's our constitution in effect. So one of the standards makes the point that the clubhouse employs so few staff that we cannot operate without the participation of the membership.
That's one of the standards. The point is, we're so skinny on staff that if people who are members are not pulling their weight, the thing doesn't work.
Exactly, which means that our members are not only welcome, they're essential. And being essential is part of what drives self-esteem, It builds confidence, and that's where the recovery lies.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. That is so special. I want to come back and I want to dive in, if we could, to each of these different programs a little bit more in depth, from, you know, vocational, the work units, what a day in the life at a clubhouse is, and really how some lives have been changed by the relationship with Venture House, being exposed to job training, being exposed to just what you said, you know, although an individual may have, as you say it, give me the term the way you said it again, serious mental health crisis.
So under the DSM, which is the Diagnostical and Statistical Manual, it's sort of the encyclopedia of mental health conditions. SMI stands for serious mental illness.
Got it. All right.
And it includes 4 basic diagnoses. Because everyone has something. We all got something.
Look, I wasn't going to say it on the show. I wasn't going to say it today because I didn't want to be, whatever. But like, I don't believe the statistics when they say 1 in 5 people or 1 in 4 people, because I usually say that in this home where I am, we're 6 for 6 with some level of mental health challenges. And I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but I say it for real because we're all sort of going through. And that goes to what I started the show with Larry Grubler. As I said earlier, we all need different support. We need different levels of support. But with those serious mental illnesses that you talk about, that doesn't preclude somebody from being a PhD, as you just said earlier. So it doesn't mean, because, when we got to go to a break. But the point of the matter is, with support, I guess with pharmaceutical intervention as appropriate, certainly with psychiatric services and things like that, people can certainly excel in different ways, right? With support.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Philanthropy and Focus. We got a lot to talk about. Juliet Douglas, Chief Executive Officer of Venture House, is here, and your boy, the Nonprofit Sector Connector. Right back.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business, or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you on edge? Hey, we live in challenging, edgy times, so let's lean in. I'm Sandra Bargman, the host of The Edge of Every Day, which airs each Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc. Tune in live with me and my friends and colleagues as we share stories and perspectives about pushing boundaries and exploring our rough edges. That's The Edge of Every Day on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
That's right. Don't literally show up at my house. Don't join me in the attic like that. But join me in the attic every single Friday morning at 10 a.m. for the show. Come on, Tommy D. You can speak. Say the words, kid. So join me in the attic because I am having important conversations each week with nonprofit executive leaders on my show, Philanthropy in Focus. Today is not any different. So I want to read you something really quick. Venture House is a community-based nonprofit mental health agency that provides free and lifelong services to individuals in New York City with serious mental illness. Venture House utilizes an internationally recognized approach to psychosocial rehabilitation known as the clubhouse model, which was originated in New York City and has since been replicated in 33 countries. There you go, New York City representing all around the world now. And we assist people in sustaining recovery through improved access to, as I said earlier in segment 1, education, employment, housing, socialization, and civic engagement. We talk about being that the members of a clubhouse are essential to what goes on in the clubhouse. In fact, by definition, the clubhouse cannot exist and do the work it's doing if the members aren't part of it, which what a better model than forcing the thing to work because it has to work. So, right, Juliet Douglas is here. I want to just shout out a couple things about the organization. So two psychosocial clubhouses in Queens, one in Staten Island, so 2 in New York City, as well as 2 scattered site supportive housing programs across New York City. I don't know what that means, which is good that Juliet is here and she does know what that means. So she could tell me what that means in a second. We'll stop right there. Let's get back into our conversation. The website is venturehouse.org. Correct me if I'm wrong, venturehouse.org. Yep.
Correct.
And my buddy Mick Collins has also shared it out there on Facebook. So if you are, I see people watching on Facebook. If you're there watching on Facebook and you have questions for Juliet or I, put it right there in the Facebook chat and we will answer those questions for you live on the show. So Juliet, so let's get into what the settings are, because you have these multiple settings. In fact, when I first met you, I'm going to slow down. When I first met you in the organization, there was only Queens at the time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's
So,
right.
yeah. So take me through kind of what the multiple sites, what is a scattered site support housing program? What is all that? So talk to us about that.
Okay, so that is through a contract with the State Office of Mental Health. Scattered site means that we are housing people across the city in open market apartments that are independent, like anyone would be looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Which is distinguished from having congregate settings where you have one building with multiple apartments in it and we are housing everyone together.
Okay.
You know, so there are different levels of care in supportive housing. But before we get to that, if you don't mind, before the break, we were talking about language, SMI, and I wanted to make the point that,
Sure.
you know, in our, raised consciousness, people have, come to understand that language, it can be stigmatizing and words have power.
Yeah.
And we've been reorienting our thinking about mental illness. And so we talk about it in different ways, such as we talk about mental health conditions, mental health concerns, mental health challenges, and taking out that stigmatizing concept of illness. Because as you pointed out earlier, we all got something.
Yeah.
And there is a spectrum of ways that people can feel and think, and we're human. And the clubhouse makes a point of that, of recognizing every individual's dignity. But so getting to the housing program, the clubhouse wants to make sure that people have a holistic approach to recovery, which it has to include housing, employment, healthcare, all of those areas. So as
can I stop you 1 second, just to go back for a second? Understanding a holistic perspective and a holistic view of this, can we look at this from a perspective of when someone a new member engages and maybe see the kind of that life cycle as they get exposed to the different services, like even from I don't know if this is the right term, but from intake or from first connection or first point of introduction. So, because I see things in terms of I like to see a vision of what happens, what's that experience like? Can we do that and then look at it from the perspective of that holistic view, and how the person initially interacts with the organization and vice versa?
Yeah, that's a great question and area, because I started out in the treatment side of mental health services. It was hospital based, it was the medical model, psychiatrist had the final word on things. We were teaching, social workers, therapists, psychologists were helping people develop coping strategies. And so it was clinically focused, and it helped people to stabilize, to get, to be able to manage symptoms.
Mhm.
It's all good. It's excellent. It's necessary. And
Right.
so medications can be very effective for those for whom it works. For others, it may not be so good. The medications have both, positives and negatives.
Mhm.
Something up in order to, to add something on.
Right.
So I was always, I was in the treatment side of things. And then people would come in, very unwell, unable to manage, to function. And then after a certain period of treatment, they would feel stable and more comfortable and grounded. And then the question is, well, what next?
Right.
What next? And I think, the answer to that is a clubhouse.
Got it.
It provides community, it provides fellowship, lasting, meaningful relationships, a place that it invites you to contribute in meaningful ways and to have a purpose.
Yeah.
And so when somebody comes into the clubhouse we sometimes have to reorient their thinking. These are folks who may have been institutionalized for many years. These are people who nobody asked what you're thinking. They come into the clubhouse and they're sitting around the table with us making policy.
Right.
We have to make a smoking policy because people are complaining about the smoke at the front door.
Sure.
So okay, let's have a community meeting. And what do you think? And what do you think? And it can be a startling experience for people who have been marginalized.
Because they haven't, because again, as I'm understanding what you're saying is, in their experience, their opinion, they've not been invited to have that type of dialogue. So even that is a new orientation or a reorientation, as you might say, to get them back, get an individual person back to some level ground where they understand what this is, right?
Yes. I mean, it's really about agency. Agency. People who have been in hospitals for years or other institutions or treatment programs are being told what to do, when to do it. Now you sleep, now you eat, now you take your medication. Now I'm the authority, the clinic, the practitioner is the authority, and you are the patient, the recipient.
Right.
Clubhouse model wants to reorient thinking around that. Everybody can be their own agent. Everyone can contribute. They certainly can think. They have ideas. And we see people come into the clubhouse who might, when you join a club, any one of us, if we joined a social club, I hear this from people who try to, to start out in some new environment where people are already active, already have relationships. It's hard to break into that. Sure. So we might have someone join the club and they're sitting in the margins for the first while, and we're asking them to participate, but they're reticent, let's say.
Yeah.
And they're nervous, they're anxious, they don't want to, feel like they might ask a stupid question or whatever. But then after a period of time, they might bring that chair and sit closer to the table. After some other period of time, they may start to contribute to the conversation. And then they start to feel their power there. And then they start to bring things to other people and, help other people to engage. And so we see this happening incrementally, but it's a very striking experience when you see someone who never said a word for 6 months, who's suddenly, bringing up ideas and making, planning with us.
How, I'm going to ask this question, we'll start it and then we'll take a break, but how, what sort of strategies during the initial phases when somebody just joins the club and becomes a member of the clubhouse, to understand their personal interests? I know we're going to talk about something. I'm just going to wink at the whole world. Let's go Mets. We're going to talk about the Mets in a little while, but shout out to my buddy Mick Collins, big Mets fan. Let's go Mets. So, I think my question is, like, how do we find out people's interests early on? Is there Do they have, I don't know the terminology, but a coordinator, a case manager, somebody that's, tell us a little bit about that quick if you could.
There's actually, I'll try to speak.
That's all right. We're gonna break anyway and come back and keep talking about it, but just like set the stage a little bit. Why don't we tease a little bit? Start the story and then I'll say we got to go to break.
Well, there is a formal process for that. We
Okay.
talk about, we call it a service plan.
Okay.
The newcomer in a conversation about what are their goals, what are their strengths, what are their areas that they want to grow in.
So you know what? I want to hear all about that service plan, but we got to go to a quick break. We'll be right back. This is Philanthropy in Focus.
Are you passionate about the conversation around racism? Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. TLC, host of the Dismantle Racism Show, which airs every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc. Join me and my amazing guests as we discuss ways to uncover, dismantle, and eradicate racism. That's Thursdays at 11 o'clock a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
In a post-COVID world, you may have many unanswered questions regarding your health. Are you looking to live a healthier lifestyle? Do you have a desire to learn more about mental health and enhance your quality of life? Or do you just want to participate in self-understanding and awareness? I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each Thursday, I will tackle these questions and work to enlighten you. Tune in every Thursday at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will be frank about health to advocate for all of us.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
And we are back. We're back. All right, listen, we're back. Juliet Douglas is here. I gotta say hello to my friend, another friend of mine, Fred Taffer, who's actually going to be on my other show this afternoon, the In Focus Nonprofit Show. Fred's checking in on Facebook too. I was joking with everybody. Mick Collins is a big Yankee fan, but I like to give him the business and say, like, let's go Mets and the whole thing. He's actually named Mickey Mantle. That's his name, his given name. So that's what the guy's called. So he's a Yankee fan. I know Fred, and congrats, Fred. Good luck on the Eagles this weekend. You know, the Giants are no longer playing football right now, but I believe they'll be back playing football next year again. So we'll worry about that. But I want to get into that service plan, Juliet, and then I know you have somebody in your office with you that we'd like to maybe introduce and bring into this conversation as well, so we can get to that during this segment. But here, let me lay out the rest of the show. So I want you to talk about the service plan. We'll introduce your colleague who's in the office there with you. And then when we come back from our other break, I want to talk about, things you have going on, the events that we have coming up and things like that we kind of prepped on. And obviously the pictures behind you would lead into that story. So this is just totally framing out where we're going. So service plan, I maybe it's me, I become a member of the club. And what does that process look like? What are the questions you're asking? What are you trying to find out about me, my interests? How, and is there a situation where you might want to go, based on, your interests or your experience, you might want to be friends with, connected with, right? A mentor, if there's such I don't know if that's the right word, but something like that. Let's talk about that. I just want to set it up, but those are my curiosities on this one.
Okay, so this is a great area. When somebody joins the club, we let them live for 30 days or so, experience all the different work units, circulate around the building, make acquaintances with, members and other staff. And then at some point, they are invited to choose who they would like to be there. Now, the title of this role has been a subject of discussion in the clubhouse world for a very long time, because we had used to be called a staff generalist. But recently, the title has become, is changed to, so one of the options is social practitioner, which came out of Fountain House. Fountain House is the original clubhouse where it all began in the 1940s, which is another story of interest.
Yep.
But so the social practitioner, in other settings, you call it, the therapist or the clinical, staff. So in other settings, a person is assigned to someone, therapist, and here's your doctor, and the person has no choice in that. But in the clubhouse, the individual makes a choice by discovering, who is it that they feel they can connect with, who they feel they can, that could make it a good, they could relate to.
Sure.
And they choose that person, and then that person, the staff, becomes their social practitioner.
What a great, just flipping, conventional ways of doing things on its ear, as they say, right? It just makes sense like that. Wouldn't it be better to work your way through the organization to find out who you best, because you're there to have a relationship? But I think it's totally on brand, obviously, from a perspective of clubhouse / community setting. This makes sense. Whatever you call that, social practitioner, staff generalist, however you call it, I think the idea is that as a new member gets to navigate their way through and see where they're going to have their best relationship, and then therefore their best experience for success, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when they choose that person to be their social practitioner, they sit down together, and that's when they explore this person's goals, interests, strengths, and so forth. And then they decide, well, what would you like to accomplish in the next 6 months or in the next year? And how can we help you do that? If somebody says, the cornerstone of the model, it does center on employment.
Yeah.
And we do, people who want to get a job are invited to look into doing a job search, writing a resume, practicing interviewing skills, and their practitioner can help them to do that. That being said, the clubhouse, we ranges from 18 years old to 118. And so there are people who are no longer want to be in the job market, and that's okay too.
Sure.
People come to the clubhouse and use it for how, whatever sense for them in their particular, life circumstance.
Is there a certain amount of, I don't know if I'm asking this the right way, as a member, is there a certain number of hours they need to come throughout the week and things like that to continue membership in good standing or something like that?
Actually, another beautiful aspect of the clubhouse structure is that membership, first of all, is for life. Standard number 1 of the 37 standards makes the point that membership is voluntary and without time limits. So once a person becomes a member of the club, which, by the way, there's no out-of-pocket expense for that, you are a member for life. And like a gym membership, you can come and go as you please. You can come every day, once a week, twice a week, once a month, every other year. You can disappear for 3 years and come back. You're still a member. We don't discharge anybody. There's no reapplication process. So it really provides a support. People's need for support will ebb and flow throughout their life. Sometimes they need more or less support. But it's a place where people know is a safe haven and is available to them until the day they die.
So that's incredible. I just can't imagine, the friendships that people make, through this. I mean, I can't imagine. I shouldn't say I can't. I think it's just such a blessing and a boon to folks. What I know we wanted to share and get somebody who experiences the clubhouse setting into this conversation. I don't know if we're ready to do that, or did you have some additional things? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that now. I could go on endlessly, but
well, me too. That's why we have to have a start and finish to this show, because it would never end. I would just keep talking and talking and talking. All right, let's go. So let's bring Janet. So you're going to roll your chair away, and Janet's going to roll her chair towards the microphone. Right? Let's do that. Cool.
This is Janet Pariza.
Hey, Janet Pariza. We're going to wait till Janet gets in range of the mic. Janet, can you hear Tommy D?
Yes. How are you, Tommy?
I'm doing great. Good to meet you. We saw each other real quick before we got started this morning, but I'm glad you're here. So I think it'd be cool to talk about, your own experience as much or as little as you want to, from a perspective of your experience and when you first connected with Venture House and the work you've been able to accomplish. And tell us a little bit about a day in the life, a year in the life, whatever you want to tell us.
Sure. I was first introduced to Venture House. I believe it was 8, maybe going on 9 years ago. We, two of the staff had come to a program I was attending. It was a 6-week program. And I was not feeling well engaged in this program, as in several that I've gone through. And before I continue, I just want to express what the experience of being in the mental health system is like. I liken it to being on a hamster wheel, going to an inpatient program, then a partial program, then an outpatient program. And then once you complete these programs, where do you go? Where do you go?
Yeah.
So it becomes a cycle, throughout the lives of both myself and the people in the mental health community and mental health system. So when one of the staff workers came in to give a presentation and, what Clubhouse was, what Venture House was.
Yeah.
I remember running out when she was out the door going, to her car. I chased her out there. I was like, Miss, can I have your card? Can I, because I felt so desperate.
There's something about it that, sorry to interrupt you, what drew you to the model? Like, what was it that you heard that you seemed supportive and would bring you what you were looking for, or what you needed?
Well, number one, what caught me was the worker. She's one of the social practitioners. Her energy, and I find this with all of the staff here. And just explaining housing, we help people with employment. But the one thing that drew me is choice.
Yeah.
Venture House gives us choice, like Juliet was explaining. We can come in 1 day, 2 days. We can use the clubhouse as we want. And it's a lifetime membership. A lot of these programs I was explaining have, these short lifespans. So it's like, after 6 weeks, 6 months, you're on your own. And then where do you go? And Clubhouse is one of, mental health, best kept secrets, which we're hoping to, and with your help, kind of spread the word. So a lot of the people in the mental health system do have a place to go.
Well, I don't like when things are great secret, because most of the times when they're the best kept secret, they didn't want to be a secret, right? So like it's conversations like this that hopefully will continue to show. I mean, what something that Juliet had written down, that when we said what is the topic of conversation that people will learn about this show, and she wrote, clubhouses are a solution to the mental health crisis. So you've seen it in your own experience, but obviously, with relationships over 8 or 9 years, you've probably seen some great successes. Do you want to talk to me about some of the success you've had, or some of your colleagues and peers?
Yes. Clubhouse or Venture House, we are more strengths-based rather than, we don't focus on our illness. We're more strengths-based. Coming into Venture House, I didn't have any friends, any social life, which, people need people. We can't live without each other. We can't even die without each other. We need each other. So my intention was just to get out of the house and make friends. And it didn't take me too long to do that. One of the things that drew me or kind of got me into my groove was the work order day.
Yeah.
So participating in what's going on in the clubhouse. I started cleaning the bathrooms.
Okay.
Little things like that, a little bit of computer work. And then as time went on, I became very active. I was very proactive in the employment and education unit. There I began, to help members. I have a background in writing. I'm assisting with tutoring, people, members looking forward to going to their GED.
That's awesome.
And I also, I received my GED as a, younger person. I couldn't, the socialization, I couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of the members are like, oh, and you have a college degree, you were able to do this. I was like, yeah, and then that kind of motivates more. Oh, Janet can do it, hey, why not myself?
Oh my God.
As time went on, I was asked to, because we have a board of directors. And one of the best things that Venture House does is members are allowed to join this board. It's mandatory. We have members on the board of directors. So there's an application process, and then I was very excited to learn that I was accepted on the board.
Oh my God. Congratulations. A game changer for you. I can't hug you because we're not in the same room, but I'm so fired up for you and what you're accomplishing. And what a thoughtful way for the organization and the model to say, who better than our members to be on the board of directors? That's because, again, having learned about this model, certainly in the last month and a half, but being aware of it for the last few years, I've known it's a different model. But that only makes sense that you and other peers of yours should be involved. You're involved with the decision making. It's your clubhouse, right? It's not Juliet's clubhouse. Juliet's part of it, right? But it's not the board of directors clubhouse, right? It's the membership that's driving it so much. And I'm fired up. And what, talking about the writing and the tutoring, what I'm hearing you say is your success empowers other success. Right. And people see what your words, like what Janet's accomplished. And now as a result of that, I can go do this. And isn't that all we're supposed to be doing on this planet with other people, is helping other people elevate themselves, and then the ripple effect and the ripple effect and the ripple effect. And it just keeps going back further and further. So we got to take a quick break. When we come back, if we'll finish, and then I want Juliet just back to talk about some upcoming events. But I would love to do this again, maybe have just like a Facebook Live where you and maybe some of the other members can come on and just talk to me about your experience from a membership perspective. I think that'd be fun. And I'd like to do that if you're into it.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. I'm sure more members would also be very excited to come on and speak of their own clubhouse experience.
Yeah, maybe we even do it at Jamaica live. I come out, we bring like a camera, and we just do a live from on the scene. I think we could work that out. We'll make it happen. Janet, thank you for being here. Stick around, like where you're seated. We come back, we'll finish with a couple minutes with you, and then we'll bring Juliet back in. How's that sound?
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, we're right back. Philanthropy and Focus.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
In a post-COVID world, you may have many unanswered questions regarding your health. Are you looking to live a healthier lifestyle? Do you have a desire to learn more about mental health and enhance your quality of life? Or do you just want to participate in self-understanding and awareness? I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each Thursday, I will tackle these questions and work to enlighten you. Tune in every Thursday at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will be frank about health to advocate for all of us.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
And We're back. Philanthropy and Focus. That's the name of the show. My name is Tommy. It isn't Joe. All right, that's that. All right, so Janet, I want one last thing from you, and then we're gonna bring Juliet right back in because I've decided I'm gonna come out on site. We're gonna do something fun. But what do you want people to know about Venture House specifically from your perspective as a member? So we have people who could be donors, people who could may need services. What should they know?
We began in I believe it was the late 80s. I don't have the specific date in my head. And we started out in a small room at the top of the YMCA in Jamaica, Queens, to now having 2 properties in Queens, one in Staten Island, and we are also starting a young adult program in Brooklyn.
Oh.
So, we are not just recognized within the clubhouse community, but also the city is starting to recognize the wonderful work that we're doing and, helping us to grow because they see the value of Venture House and what we all do together. Also, something very interesting that I forgot to mention, we have, for lack of a better term, there's no hierarchy.
Yeah.
Everything is drawn by consensus. So that includes the hiring committee. Members are on the hiring committee. So we also have a say in who we would like to come back for a second interview, who we feel wouldn't be the best fit.
Wow.
So, and we have several other committees, social committees. But one of the things that when I started, I was like, wow, we also have a say in who gets hired. So it's just like we're treated like part of the like we have value. And we're giving responsibility, and this is what really raises our self-esteem and what says, all right, I'm gonna move forward. I can do this. Why not me?
I love it. I love it. I mean, I got a million more questions for you, but we're gonna run out of time today, so we're not gonna do it today. But I appreciate you. I appreciate your vision. I appreciate your leadership in the organization. Obviously, this organization makes a lot of sense. The model makes a lot of sense. And I want to schedule some time. I'll work with Liz and Juliet to schedule some time when I can either come out or we just do some kind of Facebook Live with you and some of the other members to help tell stories, if that's good with you.
That's great. Well, thank you, Tommy, and thank you to all your listeners as well.
You got it. I appreciate you, Janet. Roll that way, and then Juliet, roll back in. Let's do it. Janet, that was incredible. Thank you. Juliet, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
I love that. That was so fun. Oh my God. Incredible. Incredible. The model works. Obviously, this model is working. I love that Janet is on the board of directors. What better way? And the hiring committee, the whole thing. All right. I'm getting all excited. I'm always excited, but I'm getting excited about all this. But let's just move up. Tell me about the paintings and stuff behind you. Tell me about March 11th. Tell me about May 6th. We got to get it all in, and tell me what else you need.
Okay. So, we have a whole, Queens is open 365 days a year.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting close to that. They're just not open on Sundays yet.
Okay.
We have a very robust social programming. In addition to the work order day, which is a standard business week, we have arts programs. We have a Venture House band. We have we take trips together. We do bowling and billiards and picnics and barbecues and movies. And, so we do a lot of fun and games in addition to working. And so we have a lot of extremely talented artists. One of our policies here is that every piece of work in the building is made by our members. And if the staff wants to contribute something, that's okay too. But so now we do have an upcoming event. The Fountain House, which was the first clubhouse and is still there, has a gallery, an art gallery on 9th Avenue and 48th Street on the corner. And they are lending us their space for Venture House to have an art exhibit, a 2-week period. So on March 11th, we'll be having our opening reception. I believe it will be from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., but I might have to get back with you on the exact time. We'll have one of our talented musicians playing during the reception, and then the art will be hanging for a 2-week period, and also these pieces will be for sale. So that's just a sampling. You probably can't see it that well.
I could see that one with those 3 human figures, and I want to buy that. So we'll have to talk about that if that's for sale, because that is
an amazing artist. He's one of our Staten Island members.
I love that. I love it. So I'll be, coordinating with you and your team. I intend on being there for the opening, whatever time of day it is on March 11th. And let's put some fanfare behind it. Let's put some kind of some chatter out there on the social media. Other than that, let's talk about the Mets real quick.
So the Mets, we are partnering with the New York Mets on Mental Health Awareness Day, which is May 6th. It's a Saturday. A couple of our members and staff will be on the field for a few minutes. You'll see our logo. It'll be our 15 minutes of fame. And so it is a fundraiser. We call it a fundraiser.
Yes.
We're selling tickets to that, and we will, we can provide more detailed information as it comes.
So we'll get that out. So shout out to social media stuff if you have it off the top of your head where we can see. I know you're certainly on Facebook. I know Instagram. Facebook is Venture House because I was looking at it. And then I will make sure to share all this stuff. But Venture House, VENTUREHOUSE is how you're going to find this stuff on social media. Gang, if you can't find it on social media, ping me, TommyD.NYC on the Instagram, and I'll sort you out on that piece. What about one last question before we finish the show here? Is there anything specific that you need, Juliet?
Yes. Venture House is in a growth period, a sort of very rapidly expanding into all of the boroughs with our housing program. Janet mentioned that. And the reason for that is that the city and the state have really recognized, and across the country, that the value of the Clubhouse program in solving the problems of homelessness and poverty, lack of housing. We have people who are living in the shelter system now who come into the Clubhouse,
right,
make policy with us.
Yeah.
So we are helping to keep people stable and functional and making real contribution to the environment in which they live. So, and because of that, we are getting additional supports as the Clubhouse model is. And so right now we are trying to purchase this property on Staten Island. It's $2 million. We need to get a mortgage. We need to conduct a capital campaign and raise money. We're looking to raise $500,000 so we can go through with this purchase of the property, which contains a 7,500 square feet of clubhouse space, and there's parking and a freestanding house on it, which is in our housing program. So that's part of our growth. We also, as a long-term, vision is perhaps, to developing additional clubhouse locations.
So here's what I have for you. We got to leave it there because we're out of time, which just means I promised you two things. I said I'd make you laugh today and we'd run out of time before we ran out of words. So I think I hit on both. So we got to go in a sec. But what I want to just say to you is this. As you're talking, I'm saying we need a clubhouse on Long Island. We need a clubhouse on Long Island. It's all that's going on in my head. So you and I need to talk about that on a meeting, right? And figure out how we do that, because I got plenty of connections with nonprofits that serve this community. We just need a clubhouse out of here. What are you going to say? We're
looking at Hempstead.
Oh, I got some friends in that neighborhood.
Because the clubhouse, one of the standards speaks to, clubhouse has to be accessible to people.
Right.
So public transportation.
Public transportation. Got it. We got the old bus terminals and stuff over there too. Yeah. All right. You got the Long Island Railroad. All right. Way too much stuff to go through right now. You and I have to get back together on this. Janet, if you can still hear me, I think you're still in the room. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate you. We'll see you. We're going to do a lot of cool stuff. I got an idea. I'm going to come on site. We'll have a meeting. Just you and the members and me. None of the staffers. I'm just kidding. Look, Janet, Juliet, thank you for being here. For Kenny, Liz, I appreciate you both for making this happen. Brendan Levy, thank you for making this introduction originally. And thanks for all my listeners who are always checking in. Let's go Mets. Philanthropy and Focus. We'll see you later. Bye.